So today we'll be discussing text 33 of chapter 9 of the Bhagavad-Gita. Kim punar brahmana punya bhakta rajarashayas tatha anityam asukham lokam imam prapya bhajasvamam. Kim, how much? Punaha, again. Brahmanaha, brahmanas. Punyaha, righteous. Bhaktaha, devotees. Rajas Rashaya, saintly kings. Tatha, also. Anityam, temporary. Asukham, full of miseries. Lokam, planet. Imam, this. Prapya, gaining. Bhajasva, be engaged in. Loving service. Mam, unto me. So the word-to-word translation and purport. Translation and the purport is by His Divine Grace, Abhay Charanarvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Now the translation. How much more this is so of the righteous Brahmanas, the devotees and the saintly kings. Therefore, having come to this temporary, miserable world, engaged in loving service unto me. Please repeat after me. How much more this is so of the righteous Brahmanas, the devotees, and the saintly kings. Therefore, having come to this temporary, miserable world, engage in loving service unto me. Purport. In this material world, there are classifications of people. But, after all, this world is not a happy place for anyone. It is clearly stated here, Anityam asukham lokam. This world is temporary and full of miseries, not habitable for any sane gentleman. This world is declared by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be temporary and full of miseries. Some philosophers, especially Mayavadi philosophers, say that this world is false. But we can understand from Bhagavad-Gita that this world is not false. It is temporary. There is a difference between temporary and false. This world is temporary, but there is another world which is eternal. This world is miserable, but the other world is eternal and blissful. Arjuna was born in a saintly royal family. To him also the Lord says, take to my devotional service and come quickly back to Godhead, back home. No one should remain in this temporary world, full as it is with miseries. Everyone should attach himself to the bosom of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so that he can be eternally happy. The devotional service of the Supreme Lord is the only process by which all problems of all classes of men can be solved. Everyone should therefore take to Krishna consciousness and make his life perfect. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manoabhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayham Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guruho Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Paricharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Desha Tarane He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhove Evacha Patita Nama Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Shri Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. The verse and the translation again. Kim punar brahmana punya bhakta rajarashayas anityama sukham lokam imam prapya bhajasvamam. How much more this is so of the righteous brahmanas, the devotees and the saintly kings. Therefore, having come to this temporary miserable world, engage in loving service unto me. Now this is the penultimate verse to the essence of the Bhagavad-Gita, which is the next verse, 934, which is Manmana Bhava Madbhakto Madhyaji Mam Namaskuru Mam Evashyasya Yuktevam Atmanam Mat Parayanaha. Engage your mind always in thinking of me, become my devotee, offer obeisances to me and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. But we won't discuss that. That's for the next speaker. But this is a verse before that. Out of the 18 chapters of the Bhagavad-Gita, the middle chapters are known as bhakti-yoga chapters. Through devotional service, one attains the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. The first 6 chapters are known as karma yoga. Through karma yoga, one attains the Supreme Personality of Godhead Shri Krishna. And the last 6 chapters, they're known as Jnana Yoga. They're categorized into Jnana Yoga. And through Jnana Yoga, one attains the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. So, out of the 18 chapters, out of the 700 verses, the right in the middle is the next verse, 934. So we're just going to discussing the one before that. This chapter is known as the most confidential knowledge, and in text 2 of this verse, Raj Vidya, Raj Guhyam, the most confidential knowledge, and of all the most confidential knowledge, next verse is kind of epitome of that, the essence of that. But we'll be, as I said, discussing one before. But to understand or put this text 33 in context, because it says how much more this is so of the righteous brahmanas. What is how much? So to understand that, put that in context, we just go back 3 or 4 verses. We just read from text 30 and to 31 and 32. So this verse will be understood in the context of the previous verses, because this section of the chapter 9 of Bhagavad-Gita, chapter 9 is divided into 4 or 5 sections itself. This is the last section, and this section is glorifying devotional service to Krishna. So these verses started from text 26 onwards to now 34 is actually glorifies devotional service, glorifies bhakti, because that is the most confidential knowledge of all of the Bhagavad-Gita. And in fact, we find chapter 8, text 28, it talked about Vedeshu Yaggeshu Tapaha Sucheva Daneshu Yat Punya Phalam Pradishtam. It talked about a person who accepts the path of devotional service is not bereft. There was a conclusion of chapter 7 and chapter 8. That was text 28 of chapter 8. It said, a person who's engaged in devotional service or person who is performing bhakti is not bereft of the results obtained by one who studies the Vedas, performs yajnas, undergoes austerities, who gives in charity, or pursues philosophical or fruitive activities. So chapter 8 talked about devotional service as the highest type of yoga. And on chapter 9 is actually giving information of what is that highest type of yoga. That is devotional service. So and here we are ending that particular section of the most confidential knowledge. So let's just go back from text 30. We just read and text 33 will become a bit more clear. Text 30, Lord Krishna tells Arjuna, Api chet suduracharo bhajate mam ananya bhak sadhureva samantavya samyak vyavasito hi saha. Even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated in his determination. So the word here, sudurachara, that means one who commits the most abominable actions. And then text 31, Shipram bhavati dharmatma shashvashantim nikachati konteha pratijanihi name bhakta paranishati. He quickly becomes righteous and attains lasting peace. O Sanakunti, declare it boldly that my devotees never perishes. Here the Supreme Lord is telling Arjuna to declare it, rather he himself is declaring it. So there's a reason for that as well. Now text 32, Mam hi partha vepashritya ye api sayu papi yoneha striyo vaishyas tatha shudraste api yanti param gatim. O son of Pritha, those who take shelter in me, though they be of lower birth, women, Vaishyas, merchants, and Shudras workers, can attain the supreme destination. So, in text 30, the word one category is Sudurachara, arthat those, or in other words, those who commit abominable actions. In text 32, there are 4 more categories. Papa Yoneha, that means those who are of lower birth. Then there is the merchants, the women, and the Shudras. And here, so there are 4. And here the 3 more. Who are they? The Brahmanas, the devotees, and the saintly kings, i.e. the Kshatriyas. So it's covered the Varnashram system. We covered Brahmana, it's covered Vaishyas, it's covered Shudras, it's covered Kshatriyas. It's covered those who perform abominable actions, and Krishna has also talked about those who are born of lower birth, and lastly women. So it's 7 different types, or 7 different categories of individuals have been mentioned here in the last 3-4 verses. And if we compare this to chapter 7, text 16, 4 different types of 4 different categories of devotees were mentioned earlier by Lord Krishna. Chaturvidha bhajante mam jana suikritona arjuna artho jigyasur artharthi jnani cha bharatarshava. So what they were, best among the Bharatas, 4 kinds of pious men begin to render devotional service unto me. Who are they? The distressed, the desirer of wealth, the inquisitive, and one who's searching for knowledge of the Absolute. So 4 were mentioned before in chapter 7. And now 7 more are mentioned in the last 3-4 verses. And culminating in this 933. There is a difference between what has been mentioned in 7th chapter and 4 different categories, and what is mentioned here as 7 different types. The difference is the 4 artho jagyasur artharthi jnani, that shows the internal mood. The mood of those devotees are internal, like they desire wealth, they're inquisitive, they're distressed. or those who are searching for knowledge. So a lot of that to do with the internal mood of that individual. But here, the 7 different types are based on more or less the external behavior, external mood. And what is the external mood, for example? As I said in text 30, those who commit abominable acts. So those who are committing abominable acts, you can tell externally he is doing something. He's a thief, he's a rapist, he's a whatever plunderer. So it's external, you can tell, right? And then those then there is Papa Yoneha of lower birth. Then there is Vaishya, Shudras, Brahmanas, Raj Rishis. A lot of that to do with the externally. You can tell who they are. You can tell a Brahmana, you can tell a Vaishya, you can tell a Shudra by the external behavior, external factors. So altogether 11 different types of individuals are mentioned by Lord Krishna as those who actually begin to render, or those who engage in devotional service. 4 in chapter 7 and 7 in chapter 9. But the point Lord Krishna is making here, and Prabhupada makes it clear in his purport, that irrespective of who they are, everyone is entitled and is eligible to be engaged in devotional service. No one is barred. No one is barred because of their background, because of their caste, because of their creed, because of their birth or color. No one is barred, because ultimately everyone is part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Mameva Vamsha Jiva Loka Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. And there's in 15th chapter, and earlier on Lord Krishna says, Pitahamasya Mata Dhata Pitamaha. He says, I am the father, I am the mother, I am the grandsire for everyone. So ultimately, every living entity, whatever caste, creed, religion, race, color they may belong to, everyone is part and parcel, sons and daughters of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So therefore, no one is barred. And here, that's one of the main points which comes out of this text 33. But Prabhupada starts with his purport. He says, in this material world, there are classifications of people. And these classifications are mentioned in Varanashram. 4 Varnas in the 4 texts are mentioned, Brahmana, Vaishya, Shudra, and Kshatriya. And Krishna himself points it out in chapter 4, text 13, Chaturvarnyam Maya Sarishtam Guna Karma Vibhagasha. So all the classifications we find in this world of different types of people, whatever they may be. So this Varnashram, the 4 Varnas, are not limited to the land which is known as India. This is present, naturally present, all over the world. But they may be classified differently or termed differently. But these naturally occurring divisions are present everywhere. So Srila Prabhupada said, irrespective of the different classifications in this world, but no one is happy. Ultimately, no one is happy, even though one may want to become happy naturally. Anandamaya abhyasat, everyone wants to become happy. That's the natural position of all the living entities. But staying in this material world, which is anityam asukham lokam, which is anitya, which is not nitya, not eternal, is temporary. Because it's temporary, and it is also not sukham, but asukham. It's miserable. And lokam, this planet we live in, doesn't matter how much we try in making ourselves live comfortably and provide all the facilities we may have due to disposal of a wealth we may have. Ultimately, one finds, and because it's been rubber stamped by Krishna himself in the 8th chapter, dukhalyam ashashvatam. Lord Krishna says this world is full of miseries and is temporary. And Prabhupada is making that point. Anityam asukham lokam is temporary, full of miseries, and not habitable for any sane gentleman. And Prabhupada in other places points it out. The one symptom of advancement in Krishna consciousness, one symptom of advancing in spiritual life is how much attachment one has to this material world, or how much detachment one has to this material world. The more one is virakt or detached to the world we live in, the more one advances. And Prabhupada at one point says, unless and until one becomes fully detached to the world we live in, is not possible to go back to Godhead. And come a couple of the places he points it out. And that's why Prabhupada says this world is not habitable for any sane gentleman. Gentleman in the sense from a spiritual point of view. Those who know the values of life. Gentleman in this word, Arya, the one who knows the value of life, one who understands who he is, what is it, where one is coming from, where one is going, what is the relationship of oneself with this world, with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the material world we live in, etc., etc. That is known as a gentleman. Not necessarily a gentleman because of one's behavior. That is also a gentleman, but in this context is from a spiritual point of view. And Prabhupada then talks about the Mayavadi philosophers, because the Mayavadi, some philosophers, they point out that this world is not temporary, is actually false, is mithya. And the Mayavad philosophy is Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. That means Supreme Supreme Brahman is the reality, only reality, and the world, the Jagat, the Lokam, as mentioned here, is actually false, is mithya. Prabhupada in many places points it out. He says Vaishnavas don't accept this particular type of philosophy. If, as the Mayavadi says, if the Jagat, if the world, if the Brahman Satyam, if the Supreme is reality, is real, and if the Jagat or the world has come from the Supreme, then how come that world be also not real? So some things come from reality, like this world has come from the Supreme. So the Mayavadi says only the Supreme is real, but what is come from the Supreme is illusion. So that doesn't make sense. Prabhupada points it out. So anything which comes from the Supreme is also real, because the Supreme is real. So the Mayavadis accept Brahma Satyam, Supreme is real, but Jagat Mithyam, the world which has come from the Supreme, is illusion. So here the flow of that particular thought, the Mayavad philosophers, as Srila Prabhupada is pointing out, and another couple of points Prabhupada makes on this action. In fact, throughout Prabhupada's teachings, his writings, his lectures, his conversations, his letters, etc., one finds a few topics which he repeats over and over and again. And one of them is defeating the Mayavad philosophy. And his name, Namam Vishnu Padaya, is the Pranam mantra, Namam Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminita Namne, Namaste Saraswati Deve, Gauravani Pracharine, Nirvishesh Shunyavadi, Paschachyata Deshatarane, because he is there to defeat the Nirvisheshvadis and Shunyavadis, the Mayavadis, and that was one of his purpose. And wherever there is an opportunity, especially in the verses, because Anitya, Krishna himself saying, this world is not false, but it's temporary, it's Anitya, not false. And Prabhupada makes that point, and he gives an example to illustrate this further in other places. He says, just like if one is invited by a friend who is an expert gardener, one is invited to come and see the garden, and one goes, and the garden is kept beautifully, so many flowers, executive, wonderful flowers, so many trees, so many different plants, and it looks so wonderful. Then the person who's viewing it, who's been invited by his friend, an expert gardener, the person says, oh, this is all false, this is mithya. Right. Prabhupada says, how would that gardener feel? The gardener will become a bit depressed. He's done so much to make this particular garden look so beautiful, but who he is asking to view it, and he says, oh, this is all false. He says similarly, and the word Prabhupada uses, we don't want to make Krishna depressed by saying that his creation is false. He's made a wonderful creation. In fact, Prabhupada says, there's no such thing as material. Everything is spiritual. Because it's energy of Krishna. But due to the influence of three modes of material nature, one makes a distinction. Oh, this is material, this is spiritual. Ultimately, everything is spiritual because everything is come from Krishna. Prasya Shakti Vivadhesh Shuyate. Krishna has unlimited numbers of energies. And this is his external energy. Depends how one sees it. So therefore, Prabhupada says, let's not make Krishna depressed by saying, oh, the world we live in is false. So, and also, he says everything, he says devotees, the Vaishnavas, they take everything in context, in relationship with the Supreme Personality Godhead. Nirbandhe Krishna Sambandhe Yukta Vairagyam Uchyate. So everything we have, whether it's material, quote, or non-material, if one is utilized in the service of the Supreme Lord, then that becomes totally spiritual, Krishnaized. And that's why Prabhupada is kind of defeats the Mayavad philosophy here. Then he says, this world is temporary, but if this world is temporary, then there must be another world which is not temporary. It's not false, but it's temporary. Abrahma bhavana loka punaravrito arjuna. Because this world, is full of miseries, but is from daily, the day of Brahma is created, is annihilated, and created and annihilated. But then there must be another world which is not temporary. And that's what Prabhupada pointed out in his purport. There is yet another world which is eternal. This world is miserable, but the other world is eternal and blissful. This world, material world, is known as Kunta. That means full of miseries. What are those miseries? Janma Mrityu, Jara Vyadhi, birth, death, old age and disease. And on top of that, there's Adidevik, Adibhautik and Adhyatmik miseries. And then there is the Avagunas, 6 Avagunas or bad qualities. Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moha, Matsarya, which is, and Krishna points it out, Mameva Vamsho Jiva Loka Jiva Bhuta Sanatana Manashasthani Indriyani Karshati. What is that? Manashasthani Indriyani. Anyway, everyone, they're struggling with the sixth sense, which is known as the mind. He points out. Manashasthani Indriyani Prakritisthani Karshati. He says, due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the 6 senses, which include the mind. So this world is actually Kunta, but the other world, which is known as Vaikuntha, which is without miseries, where there's no birth, death, and old age and disease. And that's why one of the other points Srila Prabhupada always makes in his teachings that one has to go back to Godhead, to this particular world where we originally all belong. For one reason or another, we have come into this Kunta, and the aim is to go back to Vaikuntha. And Prabhupada says, and then Prabhupada talks about what he's telling, what Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna. He says to Arjuna, take to my devotional service and come quickly back to Godhead, back home. And that's Prabhupada always kind of repeating that. The aim of an individual aim of a person, a sadhaka, especially those who have taken up the path of devotional service, is to go back home. But one can only go back home if we're not attached to this home, this world we live in. If we attach to this world, and then it's difficult to go back to our original home. So the more one becomes detached, one more becomes attached to the real home. In fact, one doesn't have to do two things separately. Detachment, attachment, that is not necessary. One just has to do attachment. One just become attached to Krishna, to the process of devotional service, and then virakti or detachment will automatically come. So 2 in 1, that is the solution. So only one process is needed. That is just being attached. If we actually summarize the whole Vedic thought in one word, somebody can say detachment. By thought is become detached. But actually, if you look at it, in actuality is attachment. Attachment to Krishna. Attachment to the Supreme Person. That is if you want to summarize the whole Vedic thought in one word, attachment. But attachment to Krishna, not anyone else. That is the summary and the essence of the Vedic scriptures. And then Prabhupada says, no one should remain in this material world, full as it is with miseries. Everyone should attach himself, the word attach himself, to the bosom of the Supreme Personality Godhead. We're not competing with Lakshmi Devi here, but this is attachment to the Supreme Personality Godhead. So we can be eternally happy. The devotional service of the Supreme Lord is the only process by which all problems of all classes of men can be solved. All classes of men, because different categories of devotees have been mentioned here, as I mentioned earlier. 7 in last 3 verses, 4 in the chapter 7. So, and those 7 encompasses all classes of men. So all classes of men, there's one key which opens all the locks, as I say. And there's one process which solves all the problems of life. And that is the process of devotional service, taking up the path of bhakti. Everyone should therefore take to Krishna consciousness and make his life perfect. So here the solution, the formula of making one's life, how to make one's life perfect, is explained by Srila Prabhupada. The perfection of life is recognizing who we are, what is our relationship with the Supreme Lord. We are, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Jivere Surupoi Krishnera Nityadas. We're the eternal servants. Das actually means slave. So we're actually slaves, not just servants. And no, we're not just servants, but we are das anudas, the servant of the servant of the servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then who we are, again, we are part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we are stuck in this miserable world, and the aim is to get out of this world, to go back to Godhead. And how one can do that? If we become attached to the Supreme Personality Godhead and take up a process by which we can advance ourselves in that process of attachment. And that process is known as sadhana bhakti, and the essence of the sadhana bhakti is prayer. And the best form of prayer is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. That is the secret of making one's life perfect. And that is, Prabhupada says, no one should remain imperfect. Everyone should try to become perfect and must become perfect and achieve the aim of one's life, which is going back to Godhead. And how does one do that? Okay, again, just to finish off, Lord Krishna finishes his text 33 as Prapya bhajasva mam. That means, therefore, having come to this temporary miserable world, engage in loving service unto me. So what does it mean to engage in loving service to the Supreme Personality Godhead? That is explained in text 34. Man mana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Engage your mind always in thinking of me. Become my devotee. Offer obeisances to me. And worship me. These four things. That is perfection of life. That's how to engage in loving devotional service to Krishna. So the next speaker will actually expand on that tomorrow. But that is how to become perfect. And everyone has the right. No one is barred in becoming perfect. Everyone has equal right, irrespective of caste, creed, color, background, etc. they come from. It's just taking up the process and progressing on it by following a prescribed method. As Srila Prabhupada has taught us, he set up this wonderful organization known as ISKCON, and this is a vehicle through which one can become perfect. So I think I'll stop here. If there's any corrections, comments or questions, we can discuss. Anything anyone would like to say something on this? Even on last couple, yes, Mataji. Is there a speaker? Is there a microphone? So they can hear. Oops.
Can you explain the difference between the personalist and Mayavadi? This is not the
Yeah. Okay. My understanding, actually, Mayavadis, there are different categories. There are categories of Mayavadis also. One is Nirvisheshvadi, the impersonalist. Another one is Mayavadi. My understanding is the impersonalists are those who believe the Supreme to be all-pervasive energy. Brahman, Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagwaniti, Shabdate. There's three ways of realizing the Supreme Personality Godhead in his Bhagwan feature, in his Paramatma feature, and in his Brahman, the all-pervasive energy, the Brahma Jyoti aspect of the Supreme. That is Nirvisheshvad. So those who are impersonalist, their aim is to merge into the Brahma Jyoti, become, in their understanding, become one with the Supreme. But they don't want to become the Supreme. They want to merge into the Supreme. Whereas Mayavadis, they think they are the Supreme, but they've forgotten their original identity. So when they become perfect, when they become perfect in the knowledge and understanding, they will realize that they are actually God. So that's the basic difference between the two. Anything else? If not, we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavad-Gita ki jai, Shri Krishna Balaram ki jai, Shri Radha Shyam Sundar Lalita Vishakha Devi ki jai.